In 2022, we hatched a radical plan. Let's sell the house, quit our jobs, buy a motorhome and travel around Europe with no plans, no idea what was going to happen, and just enjoy the time we had. On this mountaintop in Switzerland, we decided with the kids that it was time to find a house again. We'd spent 10 months travelling, had an amazing time, but we realised we needed a base again. Ireland was somewhere that we'd visited previously and fell in love with, so headed back there to look for a house. Our budget was really low, we only had €65,000, so we saw quite a lot of derelict properties in Ireland under that price range, some in better condition than others. Some were in quite scary types of areas and were very remote and just not our cup of tea. One of them even had a toilet in the garden. That took us quite by surprise and not something we were expecting to see. We began to despair until we found this place and totally fell in love. We wandered around the land. It was around 1.5 acres in size, and we just immediately knew this was the place we wanted to be. It just had such an amazing feel about the place. It was just that kind of feeling that everyone talks about when you buy a house and you just know that you've come home. There was an outbuilding barn which had lean-tos that were falling down, a huge water tank, a hayloft, and of course the main house itself, which also had a separate barn that isn't technically attached but was linked by a stone wall. In amongst all the rubbish, we did find quite a few interesting old artefacts: shoes, horseshoes, a pair of creels, which are wicker baskets used to carry the turf on donkeys' backs. Oh, lots of things. In fact, there's a whole video dedicated to things we found if you look back through the library. We intend to create a curiosity cupboard for everything that we found that's of interest. The house was full of character, and we knew immediately that this was definitely somewhere we could see ourselves living. Yes, it's a lot of work, and to be fair, when I look at it now on the camera and even today, I still think, oh gosh, there's so much to do, but we just knew this was the right place for us to be. Had such a great vibe inside, even if the camera doesn't convey it. The original sash windows, the amazing thatch, which I'm not sure you can actually see on the camera. The original thatch was on part of the roof above the chimney, and yeah, it was just something else. We just knew that this place was special. Needless to say, we straight away put an offer in, 5:30 p.m. on a Friday.
He just said, you have a cracking weekend, you're the highest bidder, I'll let him know. I can't see any problems going ahead.
And there were no problems going ahead. In fact, we were done and dusted and the property was ours within 5 weeks. We parked up, relaxed and enjoyed knowing that this was going to be our new home. We spent days planning how we were going to renovate it. It was just so exciting. Never in our wildest dreams did we ever think we would own anything quite like this. Then the beauty was shattered as we had to clear the land to get access. I was absolutely devastated when the digger driver came in and cleared everything. I knew it was needed, but it was heartbreaking nonetheless. But access was going to be needed to renovate, and for deliveries to come, it was a necessary evil. Everyone reassured me it would grow back quickly, but the big benefit was that while the digger driver was there, I got him to dig me a pond. In order to finance this renovation, we were going to need to sell the motorhome. We now needed somewhere else to live, so we ordered a static. Now this is a very old static caravan. It only cost us €5,500, has no double glazing and no central heating. It was going to be a real cold winter, but nothing quite prepared us for how cold and damp it was going to be. Right now, we were just so excited to have a little bit more space than in a motorhome, which we've been living in now for over a year. Luckily, the digger driver was still there, and he helped manoeuvre the caravan onto its final pitch. It was time to leave. We had to go back to the UK. We needed to get this motorhome sold so we could get the ball rolling with doing the renovations. Now we knew we had somewhere to come back to, somewhere that we could stay and bring our belongings. We headed back to the UK and said our goodbyes for now. On our return, I couldn't believe how much everything had already grown in such a short space of time. It was just absolutely phenomenal. But we needed to make some space for all of our things that we'd brought back from the UK. So Sam set to cleaning out the barn from the year's worth of cow dung and cobblestones. We finally had the space now to put all of our furniture and things that we'd kept in storage while we were travelling. I just hope that those sofas are still in one piece when we do finally put them in our house and not eaten to death by mice. The cottage has never been connected to electricity or running water, so we were totally reliant on solar and generators, and luckily the farmer we'd bought the property from allowed us to use his water supply from his sheep fields, so we relaxed and enjoyed the beginning of winter. Every morning was just a joy to wake up in somewhere as beautiful as this. Because we were planning on applying for the Vacant Homes Derelict grant, we knew that with the 13-month time frame starting as soon as you were approved, we had to wait until the motorhome sold, because until that was sold we didn't have the funds, and therefore there was no point in applying for the grant. So we spent our time enjoying the surroundings and even made a local new friend. Hey Toby! But with the cold came the condensation. It wasn't nice to wake up to wet duvets. So we decided whilst we were waiting, we might as well make the static caravan a nicer place to live, and hopefully a bit warmer with less condensation. The plan was to insulate and clad the static, but another thing was to get rid of the gas fire. Luckily we did, because we found this burning hole, which was a slightly big concern. Anyway, it all got ripped out and we started applying hardy backer board, ready for a log burner that someone we met kindly offered to lend us. Sam made sure he reinforced underneath the caravan where the log burner was going to go and capped off the original gas fittings and checked that they were safe, before he laid everything down and installed the log burner. This was a huge moment for us as we just had the coldest night of the year, and I have to say it's been the best thing we ever installed. Sam did a wonderful job getting the roof put on, despite several big storms nearly blowing it away midway through. So now it was time to clad the outside. I think at this point, Sam was losing the will a little bit. It was not an easy task cladding the caravan, and it was awkward, it was cold, it was wet, it was windy a lot of the time, and yeah, I think at this stage we were both a little bit done with it, if I'm honest. But we kept on going because we knew the difference having this cladding on was going to make to us, and potentially we would be in this caravan for 2 winters. So with having children, we knew it was important that we kept the place warm and free from condensation, so we kept on going regardless. By the time the next minus temperatures arrived, we were almost finished, and the caravan was such a different place to be. So much warmer, so much drier, and we knew then that the money we'd spent cladding it was definitely money well spent. we finally got around to finishing it a couple of days later, and it was probably the best feeling in the world, getting that cladding on and finished and done. I think Sam and I never ever want to clad another caravan again. It was great that the caravan was done, but we were concerned as the motorhome was still not sold, and until it's sold we couldn't apply for the grant. There was something else keeping me up at night, perhaps not Sam so much, but definitely me. The poor donkey that was friendless and without shelter in the field up the lane in -6 degrees temperatures. So we made a bit of a crazy decision. So,
Yes.
we did something a little bit bonkers.
Well, we've left a note, haven't we?
Put a note on the gate to say if they're looking to rehome, well, we've named him Toby. If anyone wants to rehome Toby, whoever the owner is, to let us know. So we will let you know if we get any response to that.
They'll be waking us up at the window every day.
Whilst we waited to hear about Toby, we also knew that it was time to get building a chicken coop, as we had some chickens arriving very shortly and we needed to get that coop built. It took hours. But Sam worked right into the night and got it done just in time for the new arrivals. I've always wanted to keep hens, so this was a real dream come true for us. Even now, a year later, the kids never tire of hunting down the eggs. These hens do free range, but they've always got this penned area to go to if we're ever away for the day or longer. Whilst we were waiting for the motorhome to sell, there were still plenty of other things that needed doing, such as removing all the trees that had fallen down through the many storms we'd had over the winter and early spring. Finally the call came to say that Toby was going to be ours. Sam suddenly had a new project on his hands. We built Toby's stall with lots of scraps and bits and bobs that were left after the storm had ripped apart our hayloft. I think Sam did a marvellous job with what we have. At some point soon we will eventually replace all the old tin with new, but we didn't have much time on our hands at all. However, Toby's never had a stall before, he's never had shelter, so he was absolutely thrilled, although at first he didn't know quite what to do and stood just outside of it. It took him a few days to actually enter and appreciate the shelter from the rain. Then came the great news that the motorhome had finally sold. We wasted no time and applied for the vacant homes derelict grant. The inspector's just gone. I don't know why, but I was so nervous. I really did think, I don't know what I thought. I don't know why I was worried. It was all fine. He said it's all good, matches up. I think he's happy with what he's seen and with what we've sent in. So he said, yeah, I think you can pretty much get cracking. So we're going to have a formal letter obviously come through, hopefully. And he said he's going to send it out today or maybe tomorrow, depending. So I'm like, yes, woo, we can start on the house. We literally got started the very same day, as soon as the inspector left. We knew we only had 13 months now from this point to get the work done that we wanted to claim the money back for. You only get to claim up to €70,000, and a certain amount is allocated to certain different areas of the renovation. You also only get that money at the end, you don't have that up front. So the race was on. Get as much done as we can before the money runs out and the time runs out. One of our first priorities was to rake out all the old joints and repoint with lime mortar. We absolutely loved when we revealed the stone from under the lime wash that was there for years. So we're still undecided yet as to whether we're going to retain just the stone or whether we are going to whitewash the building again. That has yet to be decided. A lot of the old lintels were railway sleepers and were full of woodworm and falling apart. So one of the big priorities was to replace them with concrete lintels. That was a huge task, and Sam did amazing trying to rebuild those with stonework. So the plan with the concrete lintels is that they will eventually be faced with timber, so they won't be seen and will hopefully blend in with the original style of the cottage. Here you can see the barn as it was originally. Here is after we removed one of the apexes near to the main building. And after Sam spent ages taking down the apex of the end, we're keeping and also put lintels in to join the two buildings together. In the space between the buildings, we intend to put glass to let more light in. Now we had to rebuild the apex with the new lintels in place. We used block work on the inside, purely because it was a lot quicker and easier, and that will not be on show in the finished room. Looking in now to the old barn and what will be our living room, we had to now take down the wall that divided the two buildings to join it into the main building. Now the wall was down, we had to stabilise the ends, so we made shutters and poured concrete. The next task that we were not looking forward to was removing the old thatch. Now, this looks a little bit confusing, but the thatch roof was the original, and sometime in the 60s they put a new tin roof over the top of the old thatched roof. It was a lot of work and it was going to be a dusty, messy, awful job. We were not looking forward to it at all. Sam, however, just made absolute light work of it. It took him all day, but he got there in the end. Here's me sporting a flat cap that we found in the thatch. Just amazing.
That was a fall.
That was a bit scary.
All of it. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, at least it's down.
It is definitely down.
That was epic.
I've got my mask on, but gosh.
Let's get out of it and get some air.
Yeah. Now the thatch was down, we decided we'd put in the lintels, ready to do the knock through to join the two buildings together. But before we knocked through, there was another job that we were dreading perhaps more than removing the thatch, and that job is putting the ring beams on. We were going to pour these ring beams by hand using 2 cement mixers, and we knew it was going to be a big job, but we just thought we're on a penny pinching exercise here, so let's save money where we can and we'll just do it ourselves. And before anyone comments that there was no rebar, because I had multiple people asking me about this, we used fibre in the concrete mix, and that was recommended and okayed by our engineer. And while I'm mentioning engineer, I have to give a huge shout out to Joe, our amazing engineer, who also sent us this crane lift, which was an absolute godsend. Getting the ring beams on just felt like a huge turning point for us. For so long it had felt like we were just constantly doing stonework and structural work, and it just feels like we were finally making progress on the project. Little did I know what was around the corner. It was now time to do the breakthrough between the two buildings. In order to do that though, we needed access, and so it was time to demolish the old concrete porch that we didn't particularly like and also was very structurally unsound. In fact, it nearly killed Sam. The moment he took his hard hat off to sweep up when he thought everything was safe, the whole lintel above his head came crashing down to the ground. He is so lucky that happened just after he'd moved out of the way. I honestly do think sometimes we have guardian angels looking out for us. Now the knock-through was done, we had to pour again some shuttered concrete just to seal off the edges of the stone. So Sam is removing the wall to the right of the chimney here because this was going to form the access doorway into what will become our bedroom. plan is always to keep the chimney, but only the lower part, the part that looked like red brick, which is in fact just a concrete facade with red paint and white chalk on it. But we needed the chimney stack to be rebuilt because it wasn't strong enough to support the roof ridge beam. We're putting an upstairs in this cottage for the children's bedrooms, and the engineer had designed it that the chimney stack would support the ridge beam. What's that saying again? The best laid plans and all that? It was at this point, after speaking to a builder friend and our engineer, we realised that we sadly weren't going to be able to keep the hearth that we'd wanted to keep. It just wasn't going to be strong enough. As Sam was taking the chimney down, we realised that it had been left too long, exposed to damp, and it was just falling apart, and there's no way it would have been structurally able to carry the ridge beam of the roof. So the sad decision was made that it had to come down. I could not watch this at all. I was heartbroken to see it go. Yes, that is just a concrete, it's not a real red brick, but there was still the stone hearth behind it, and let's face it, it was just the heart of the house. But onwards and upwards. We added to our ever-growing menagerie of animals and agreed to start fostering for the Irish Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. So now all plans on doing the roof had to change. The floor had to go down first. We had to make sure that we had a supportive floor in order to carry the new chimney that we were going to have to build, which would then of course support the ridge beam of the roof. There are many things that Sam can turn his hand to. He's pretty much good at most things, to be honest. But the floor and the groundworks and drainage were giving him many sleepless nights. He was really worried, not having the experience, and it's something that you really need to get right, especially in such a damp climate. Thankfully, we got a message from a guy called Adam, who offered his services, his experience and his machinery in return for a bit of diesel and for me to feed him all day. Adam, we cannot thank you enough. You're an absolute star. Sadly, we're about to lose another element of the building. The wall you can see there with the 2 doorways was only ever really built from the ground up, probably at a later date. It was never toothed in to the outer walls, and so we knew it wasn't structurally sound. As Adam and Sam were building around it, it was wobbling a fair bit. After a bit of deliberation, we decided that really it needed to come down, and now was the right time to do it with the machinery there. So sadly, it had to come down. We have retained all of the stone that we've removed from the chimney and from the walls, and it will definitely be reused in various different parts of the project. Briefly, we turned our attentions away to a more happier project, something that had been on the back burner for a while. A few months previously, we'd done a GoFundMe for a hard standing for Toby the donkey. It's a terrible problem with donkeys, especially in Ireland in the wet boggy fields. They really suffer with their feet, and Toby has got some foot problems. We've worked closely with the donkey sanctuary to gain Toby's trust. We've also had him gelded, and hoping that eventually that will mean he will tolerate a friend. Previously, he's shown aggression towards other donkeys, so it was important that we got him gelded and gave him some time to adjust, and hopefully, once we've got this hard standing done, and in the next few weeks, there'll be a friend for Toby on her way. Back to the build, and after Adam had left and dug the floors down as much as he could in one day, we were left with quite a lot of water residue, especially as we'd had heavy downpours. It was time to think about drainage, and Sam's fears crept back in. But luckily, some friends of ours, Tim and Patrick, came to the rescue. Tim is an experienced groundsman and offered his services again, just out of the kindness of his own heart. We really have been blown away by the kindness of people that we barely know. After Tim and Patrick left, Sam and I cracked on and got the stone put in the house. We used percolation stone as a base layer, and an 804 aggregate on the top. A lot of time was spent making sure that we got the levels right and compacted it well. And that kind of brings everybody up to date.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year. It's mad to think we've even been here, well, not here a year, but the past year of our lives has been bonkers.
There's so much more yet to come, obviously. A lot of work to do. We've got until March with the grant to get things as done as we possibly can before, as I mentioned at the start of the video, before the money runs out.
Yeah, the money will run out.
I think it's actually pretty much run out.
We've done everything. We took so many gambles and decisions, and we're doing this on a shoestring. And you know, it's what's got us to where we are. The whole past year, like when we left our house where we lived and sort of secured jobs and made a decision to leave and go travelling, it was all decisions made. And yeah, there was a lot of fear. What if this? What if that? But we did it anyway. And then obviously we've come here and we're doing this project. And it's like, you know, there's no turning back. This is it.
This is it, definitely.
We have to make it work, and we will make it work. It's
there's nowhere else we want to be, though, is there? This is it. This is it for us. This is going to be where we live.
This is home base.
This is home. So yeah,
a lot of travelling to do.
But exciting things coming. Trusses for the barn roof, hopefully either today or Monday. And then obviously we've got to put the concrete down on the floors.
We've got a family coming staying with us tomorrow.
Yeah, we've got
a few days,
another travelling family that we met while we were in Gibraltar.
And you'll see on Wednesday who that mystery person is.
Yeah, they are on YouTube, but yeah. And then we've got other friends coming on Wednesday. We've got a lot of people coming at the minute to help us out.
And Steph and their kids from London.
So hopefully we'll get
Dave's
quite
a joiner,
bit done.
isn't he? So
make life easier for you, won't it, having another.
He might bring his nail gun over, you see. So I'll speak to him Monday, and he might bring some basic tools over with him, and we can just it'll be so better with another joiner here. We'll smash it. We'll smash it.
You'll get there. So thanks everybody. We really appreciate all the amazing comments, the support.
They do lift our spirits, don't they?
People have just been so kind, and if I don't reply to all the comments or just do a heart, please know we do read them. It's just there's a lot to do, and when
we get in bed, isn't it? When we get in bed at night.
Oh yeah, we read through them all, and we really appreciate them. So keep them coming. And we will see you on Wednesday. Hopefully, with some trusses on the barn roof, with a bit of luck. Yeah.
Tomorrow we're going to have a kip.
I think Sam's feeling it.
I think, well, we got the groundworkers coming tomorrow, so there'll be no chance of that.
No.
So no rest for the wicked.
Definitely not. Right, guys.
See you on Wednesday.
Bye.